where's the sun shining in your life? And so, even when there are disruptions, detours, and distractions, you get to choose how you will stay engaged. Yes, you do. The sun can still shine. We always say that, right? As long as there's some light in the tunnel. And so, what if there is light in the tunnel? Where do you go? Do you stay in the tunnel? Because sometimes you need to retreat, you know what I mean? But how do you navigate disruptions? How do you navigate disruptions? And so, one thing about being an entrepreneur, someone who is purpose driven, someone who has a movement, a ministry, your mission, whatever your calling is, know that there are going to be storms, there are going to be disruptions, there's going to be mountains to climb, there's going to be something, whether it's in the business or in life, and just know your life, you're not separated from your life. And this is why, y'all, self-care is so important. Self-care is not the luxury of, the bubble baths, being on the beach. Those are the outcome. Those are the things that you get. It's the work that you put in yourself, of yourself, through yourself. Because without that, you won't have a calling. Just remember, whatever led you through that calling, you still need. You still need. It's going to help you to get through the storms, the mountains, the detours, the disruptions. Because when I was crying for 40 days and 40 nights, I'm like, okay, something got to give here. And that's when I walked into a yoga class and it changed my life. And then from there, yoga teacher training. And then from there, meditation. And then from there, healing energy. And then from there, life coaching training. And then from there, you see the domino effect, the compound effect, when you were exposed to something. And then even with yoga, it was yoga, meditation. And just remember, y'all, that meditation is a part of yoga. They're not separate. But there's yoga, meditation, and then yoga retreats, and then share circles that are integrated, that has yoga and meditation embedded. And so, as a person who is purpose driven, what are the things that you are doing when there's a disruption? It could be a disruption in your business, a disruption in your life. What do you do? Because of the fact you have certain thoughts that may come, and sometimes they may be limited thoughts. What do you do with the limited thoughts that, oh, and that thing do it again. Oh my. Okay, I'm gonna have to write that down. I am going to have to write that down. And so, what are the things that you are doing so that the light will continue to shine through you, even though there are disruptions? What ritual, what routine, what is that thing that you do? What do you fall back on? Because sometimes with some of those disruptions, sometimes they can feel like they are sucking the life out of you. I can even remember when my stepdad had a heart attack. It's like, oh my gosh. Whew. And then the thing is, y'all, it was like, with the healing from the breakup, and it's like when I really felt like, oh, this is a relief. I am over the bridge. Because before I was like climbing the mountain and trying to get up trying to cross the bridge. And I felt like that I really crossed that bridge. And then once I crossed that bridge, it is like, the bridge wasn't finished, y'all. The bridge wasn't finished. Meaning, it's like, oh, this is a continuation for you to use what you learn. That's what it's all about. So even though that was a disruption too, whew, it was a disruption. So it's the compound effect of the things that you learn along the way that you can continue to learn, y'all. Because what I learned during my healing phase of that particular part, because there's different phases of healing. But what I learned in practicing yoga and meditation, I was able to take that with me, especially while I was in yoga teacher training. Whew! Actually, now that I think about it, I believe that I need to revert back to some of those practices. Yeah, I'll keep you updated on that. And so when you're navigating life, when you're really just living life, how do you navigate the disruptions? Because of the fact, one thing that I've learned by being a therapist, one thing that I've learned as a licensed clinical social worker is that, and which is one of the reasons why I come on here and do this work, is we don't do enough planning for the disruptions in our life. What self-care tool do you have? Now, let me say this very clearly. It's not just so that when things come up, but it is for when things come up. How do you navigate the disruptions in your life? What do you do? What are you saying to yourself? What affirmations that you have? What declarations are you making? What are you doing about the visceral effect? Now, that's the biggest thing that I learned. Initially, I might have didn't have the language for it, but the more I continue to study and continue to take, continue ed, but more so when I really learn truly the body, mind, spirit, and soul connection. Because the visceral effect of disruptions, those are the things that can definitely take you out. And without having a practice of, it's not always just sitting in silence. Sometimes it's taking that breath. And sometimes you may need to do the fire breath. Sometimes you may need to do some jumping jacks. Sometimes you may need to run in place or walk in place really, really fast. Sometimes you may need to center your heart with the rhythm of your breath. But when the world seems like it's on your shoulder, what do you do? Talk therapy is great. I'm a therapist. Talk therapy is great, but having somatic practices, embodiment practices, it is necessary, y'all. Because when you are navigating those disruptions, it's going to impact how you think. It's going to impact the actions that you take. And so, in having a practice that can keep you centered and grounded, that's what it's all about, so that you won't freak out, so that your mind won't be all over the place, so that the chaos won't be chaosing. Because it allows you to give you that gap, to give you that space, so you can make informed decisions, so you can use discernment. Because of the fact sometimes when that disruption happens, sometimes you're not using discernment. Sometimes it's that knee-jerk reaction. We all have it, but it helps or not having a knee-jerk reaction. It's okay to be frustrated. It's okay even to be angry, whatever that disruption is. And sometimes it may make you wobble some. But when you have practices, routines, and rituals in place to help keep you centered when those disruptions happen, that's what it's all about. To keep you grounded in yourself, in your calling. But you got to be grounded within yourself first. Talking about your calling of serving others. Because if you continue to pour out and not pouring in, that's going to deplete you, and you will not be engaged with yourself. You'll be disengaged. So when those disruption happens, what do you do? What are you thinking? Because you want to be in a space where you're not allowing the disruptions to take over you, to take over your life, to take over your business. Sometimes there are times you may need to fall back, to retreat. And this is where the practices come into place. And if anything that I've learned on this journey, no matter where you are, to be in a circle, to be in an incubator, to be in a community. And I always say, even if you don't say a word, because believe you me, there will be someone who will share a story, who will share an experience that you can identify with. Because even for me, I always say, well, I don't think this way. I don't have any of these feelings. But sometimes when I'm listening to others, I'm like, oh, mine's come in my patterns and my behaviors. I may not think that way, but I'm acting that way. Let me know that you understand what I'm talking about. And so, by being an entrepreneur, by being purpose driven, by having a calling, what rituals do you have in place, especially so that the disruptions won't take over you? The visceral fat, that racing heartbeat. Now, sometimes some of you may need to go get that checked out. But the things that you may notice about yourself, what are some of those things? What are those things that you can do to say, okay, this is what's in front of me. What opportunities do I have? What options do I have? Or do you say, oh, look at the barriers. Look at the obstacles. So how are you looking at it? Do you look at it as options and opportunities, or barriers and obstacles? Especially when there are detours, especially when there's disruptions. You can snap yourself out of the disruption. The disruption may physically, tangibly be there, but within your mind, because it's the thoughts that you have. Again, is it something that's blocking you? Because sometimes we're the one who's blocking ourselves. It can come from your thoughts, but also comes with your actions. Who's always heard, action speaks louder than words. If anything, I would say that actions complement the words. They complement your thoughts. They complement what you're thinking. Because it's what you implemented, it's what you're executing. And by taking action, taking that time to breathe, to gather yourself. You don't have to respond to every single thing. Give yourself that space, that gap. Don't worry about what other people are thinking, what you're thinking. Because if not, if you have that knee-jerk reaction to say yes to everything, you're not thinking. You allow your nervous system to take over. You're the one who controls that. That's the whole purpose of somatic practices, of embodiment practices, things that you do to settle your nervous system so that you can make informed decisions, so that you can use discernment. Because are you choosing things because you don't want that feeling, ooh, I'm nervous, I'm anxious? Or are you making decisions because you learn how to ground and center yourself? These are not just things that make you feel good. Like, oh, I'm just so happy in this fantasy world. No, these are practices. When you have that disruption, okay, what do I have in front of me? What decision am I going to make? Have a framework for that. What are your principles? What are your values? What are your standards? It helps you to revert back to what you stand for. So when you have those disruptions, take that breath. That's all what that is. There's a signal to say, let me pay attention. And it's different no, I was about to say it's different if you got a leaking water and the only thing, a leaking faucet, the only thing you want to do, you want to stop. But it takes some investigation to figure out where the leak is coming from. So what are the things that you are doing when there is disruption? What are you doing to make sure that you think clearly? What are you doing where you're not just choosing? Because you could be choosing from what you see right now, but not for what you see. You could be choosing for what you hear, but not what you hear. You could be choosing from the reaction, but it's really not truly from the heart. It's just so that you can feel better right now. So, I sealed, I don't have no tape over here, but let's just say this was glue. I sealed that leak. You may have sealed the external leak. Woo! But did you seal the internal leak? And this is where you go deep within, and this is why practices and rituals are so important, because when there are disruptions, they will disrupt you. But you have no fear because you know how to seal the gates that are trying to come down. You know how to seal, shall I say, put a stop to those intrusive thoughts that's looking at disruptions like barriers. There may be detours, but sometimes some detours lead to greater places. But it doesn't mean that it's an obstacle. It's like, oh, there's a different route to take. So, what are the things that you are doing? What do you have in your self care tool, toolkit, tool bag? You've got to have it. And that's what I've seen as a therapist. I'm like, this is one of the reasons that I do this work. This is one of the reasons that I come on and I talk about take 5 to thrive today. If ideally, if you can take 5 minutes to breathe, however you choose to breathe, because it doesn't always need to be slow, because sometimes you need the fire breath. To take 5 minutes to enjoy the sun, to take 5 minutes to enjoy nature, to take 5 minutes to walk in the grass barefooted, to take 5 minutes just to be, because sometimes that's where it's at. To get your thoughts together before you make a decision so that you can use discernment and you're not just reacting. You're not just reacting. And so, one of the things that you can do is be inside the circle to help remind you to slow down. It is, and I created a space, fortitude and free circle, which is primarily for female entrepreneurs who are 40 plus. Where are my 40 plus entrepreneurs? Where are my 40 plus purpose driven women? Where are my 40 plus women who have a calling? Because we need you, but we don't need you overwhelmed. chaos is going to come. It just is. But we want you to be centered, to be grounded. And not only your faith, but you know how to tune in. You give yourself that internal space where you can pretty much walk at your own pace. Woo. And we do that inside the circle because you get those nudges about the Take 5 to Thrive Today wellness boosters. And the way that it is set up, y'all, it is set up so that you won't be running all over the place. We have fortitude-free rituals on Saturdays so that you can wash off. You have practices like whatever you have at the end of whatever you have towards the end of the week, so you can knock off all of that energy, that dead energy, but also prepares you for the upcoming week. Because even if you have your own practice, it's good to be in a room with someone else because it really allows you to let go. And then we have Sunday Sunday planning session, because I'm telling you, I can tell the difference when I plan my week out and really plan, not just copying what's on the schedule, really plan and think that through to prepare for the week. And then on Wednesdays, we have co-worker Wednesday. So you can use that time for self-development. You can use that time, administrative time. You can use that time for batching, for making calls, for following up on things, whatever that is, to allot that time. And even if you're like, hey, there is some scheduling conflict here, just by being exposed to that, okay, I can't do it at this time on Sunday, but I will do it at this time. Because this is another conversation though. Planning your day, planning your week, planning your month, planning your quarter. That is how we decrease of being overwhelmed. It really is. It really is. And so for those of you, and those are just a couple of things, I have other things that will be included inside the circle. But first, we got to get you where, you're not trying to do too much, because sometimes that's what we end up doing, especially as women. Especially for those of you who are married, who are a partner, who have a family, who have children. Take time for yourself. So important. And one of the ways that you can do that is inside Fortitude and Free Circle. And again, Fortitude and Free Circle is for female entrepreneurs, 40 plus. And you're kind of like sick and tired of being overwhelmed. You need some directions, or you just may need some reminders to make sure that you're taking care of yourself. So for those of you who are interested to come inside the circle, comment circle, so you won't be, when that disruption happen, you'll have some tools to help you. Because again, are you looking at it as obstacles and barriers, or opportunities and options? Because how you think is going to direct the actions that you take. That's how you use discernment.